Alright guys, what's going on? It's Kage. And welcome to today's video where I'm doing my first overdressed deck profile, which I've been meaning to do for a lot longer now. It's just kind of been putting it off. And for this deck profile, I am doing what I consider probably one of my favorite decks to come out of Overdress so far, and being Drajeweled. So, Drajeweled just came out a month or so ago, I think, at this point. And when I first saw it, in episode 2 of Will Dress, I thought the deck was pretty cool, had a neat aesthetic, and reminded me of Dust. And as a lot of you know, I am a big Gear Chronicle fan, so of course, my ZTB deck has Dust. But overall, Drajeweled is just a neat deck, and I knew the second I saw it, I'm like, when it comes out, I'm going to build it. So here's my Drajeweled deck profile for set 6. So the formatting will be a little different for my overdressed deck profiles, because, most times I go grade 0, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. But because of the way overdress is with the ride deck, I'm going to try a couple different ways of doing it, and then y'all can tell me which way you prefer. So without further ado, let's get into the deck profile, starting with the ride deck. So if you're new to Overdress or new to my channel, the ride deck was introduced to Overdress to give you a guaranteed ride to grade 3. I'll do a separate video on Overdress explaining my opinions on everything with Overdress. But I will say, while the ride deck is nice, I'm not the biggest fan. So our starter is Julius Draco Kid. It has the generic starter effect for all Overdress units, which is when this unit is rode upon, if you 1 second, draw a card. That's it. There is no other skill. Then the grade 1 in the ride deck is Jewel Core Dragon. Jewel Core skill is when this unit is rode upon by Demonic Stone Dragon Jewel, call this unit to rear guard. Auto rear, when this unit attacks or boosts, it gets +5 until the end of the battle. At the end of the battle, put this unit into your soul, and it's mandatory. So you can either call it as a 13k booster, or you can put it on the rear guard as a 13k beater. And that choice is up to you how you want to do it. Most times I like to call it as a beater. Our grade 2 is Demonic Stone Dragon Juniel. And Juniel has the ability of when this unit's attack hits a Vanguard, you can soul charge 1, which I'm not gonna lie, I don't like it has to hit a Vanguard. I wish you could just, let's say, swing rear, then get the soul charge, but I guess that'd be a little too busted for Overdress. And then when this unit is rode upon by a unit with Drajeweled in its card name, soul charge 1, and if your soul has 3 or more cards with different grades, draw a card. Which will usually happen, because you'll have, is once you ride Drajeweled, you'll have these 3. And then for the grade 3, we of course have Drajeweled himself. Now, the Drajeweled that comes out in set 7 is obviously going to be better. I'm not even going to bother trying to, well, I guess I'll give you all the name. It's Joel Embracing Dragonfang Drajeweled. I personally prefer the other name that it has, the other version. Continuous, when this unit will be rode upon, is also regarded as Demonic Jewel Dragon Drajeweled. Much better name. Auto Van, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, Soul Blast 4 cards with different grades. Choose one of your opponent's Vanguards, and then until the end of the turn, increase or decrease the power of the opponent's Vanguard to 1. If your opponent's grade 3 or greater, this unit gets an extra critical. And then continuous rear guard, if you soul blasted 4 or more cards at the same time for the cost of your card's ability, this gets +5. So this is why that's why I said it reminds me of Dust. Because with Dust, you would counterblast, I think it's counterblast 2, put your opponent's Vanguard to grade 1, and then put their power to 1, which would stop them from being able to G-Guard, which by the end of the G era, G-Guards were super powerful, so that shut down those. They could still PG, I think. I have to read Dust again. But yeah, this card is... this deck is pretty interesting. So with that out of the way, we're going to move on to the main deck now. And for the trigger lineup, I am running 4 crit, which is Steam. Let me pull this. Stem Deviate Dragon. It's the one you can win and boost go into the soul. I'm running 4 fronts, 3 draw, and 4 heal. So the reason I'm running 3 draw 4 front is because this is a very soul charge heavy deck. And then so obviously like I know there's like a control variant, but this one is basically just meant to fill up your soul as much as possible and then be able to do the soul blast for every turn, which puts a lot of pressure on your opponent, which is why I feel the 4 front is a lot more impactful. And then, of course, we are running the Dark States over trigger. And that is it for the trigger lineup. Moving on now to the grade 1s of the deck. I am running 4 copies of Diabolos Madonna Shayna. And what this card does is, when this unit is placed on rear guard from hand, put one of your other rear guards into the soul, look at the top card of the deck, call it to rear, or put it to soul. So this is essentially a free 2 extra cards in soul. So if you're so let's say you have a grade 1 and you need a grade 1 in soul. Call that, put a spare grade 1 in the soul. And then you get to look at the top card of the deck, and you can put it in the soul as well. Which, in my opinion, is really, really strong. Especially for a deck like this, where you need, 4 different grades at all times. So, having that set up is important. Next, I'm running 4 copies of Friend of the Netherworld Ling. And what Ling does is, when this unit is placed on rear guard, look at 2 cards from the top of the deck, choose a card from among them, put it to your soul, and then put the other one on the bottom of the deck. Again, more soul charging, more cards in soul, more basically, more grades to essentially make your opponent have to PG everything or have to use all the cards in their hand. Then I'm running 3 copies of Avid Reaper. So Avid Reaper says when it boosts a grade 2 or greater, it's literally worded grade 2 or greater, but obviously they mean grade 2 or greater unit. You get the Soul Charge 1, which is why I'm running that. And then 4 PGs to round off the grade 1s. Now, moving on to the grade 2 lineup, I am running 4 copies of, once I can actually get it, there we go. I'm running 4 copies of Mystic Accordionist, And a Accordionist has the skill that when it is discarded during the ride phase, put it to soul. So I don't think I need to tell you why that card is so good. Because it's a free grade 2 in soul. And free grade 2 in soul means more chances, more times you can use your soul charging or soul blasting ability. And then for our other grade 2, I'm running 4 copies of Ultrasound Siri. And what this card does is when this unit is placed on rear, you counterblast 1, look at the top 3 cards of the deck, choose a card from among them, put it to the soul, then shuffle the deck, and then if your soul has 4 or more cards with different grades, draw a card. Again, more draw power, more soul charging, more putting your opponent to 1. And then last but not least, moving on to our grade 3s. I am of course running 3 additional copies of Drajeweled for the Persona ride. I'm so looking forward to when set 7 comes out. I feel like the deck is just going to get so much more powerful, because that's when we get our true Drajeweled support. And then the last grade 3 I'm running is 4 copies of Time Jarrett Dragon. And what Time Jarrett does is when this unit is placed on rear guard, put a card from your hand to soul and draw a card. So again, if you have a missing grade that you need, put it in the soul, then you're good to go. And yeah, that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all have enjoyed. This deck is honestly, as I said in the beginning, I knew I was going to end up getting this deck when I saw it. I'll put Shiny Drajeweled on top. Like, I knew for a fact that I was going to get Drajeweled, and I'm happy that I did. It's a really fun deck. I personally enjoy it. But yeah, anyway, until next time, I'll see you in the next video. See ya.